Okay, let's go ahead and move on and talk about Kavanaugh here. Let's put this up there on the screen. So an armed man was arrested yesterday near Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home and was actually charged with attempted murder. The details of this are really chilling. So this man, he was 26 years old, he's from California. He was carrying a gun, a Glock 17, knife, pepper spray. He was upset about the leaked draft opinion on Roe versus Wade. This is according to an FBI filing. Prosecutors who are against him. So the man's name is Nicholas John Roski. He was from Simi Valley, California. And the details of this, Krystal, are a little bit weird. So federal agents apparently spotted Mr. Roski at 1:05 a.m. dressed in black clothing and carrying a backpack and a suitcase as he got out of a taxi in front of Justice Kavanaugh's house. After seeing agents in front of the house, Roski walked away. And then, and this is what is especially strange, he called Montgomery County Emergency Communications to say, I have suicidal thoughts, I have a gun in my suitcase, and I want to kill Justice Kavanaugh.
Whoa.
So it's not like he was walking down the street and they stopped this guy and they were like, hey, what do you have in that suitcase? He actually called, I mean, look, he sounds like a grade A loser slash freak.
Lunatic.
Yeah, lunatic. And there's also a question here about these guns because, you know, Maryland, where he was apprehended, actually has different gun laws and the rest of the gun. They have capacity magazine restrictions. He actually had a Glock 17, which was on him as long as 2 mags. So then here's the question. Did he fly with the Glock? I mean, it's legal to fly with a gun in this country, but did he fly into, you know, into Dulles or into one of the areas around here with the gun on him? And also, did he stop at a gun store in order to procure ammunition? He also had pepper spray, which I know that you can't fly with, as well as a knife. I'm not sure exactly what the laws are around that. Anyway, the preparation as to exactly what was going on here sounds strange, and the FBI isn't giving us much of a timeline. They basically say that he got out of the plane and then came to Justice Kavanaugh's house. So I also have a question of, did he fly with the pepper spray and the knife?
California.
As to what we were just talking about with TSA. By the way, TSA fails almost every other safety exam that they're ever put in front of. Most people don't know that. Anyway, it does show you, though, that there is obviously feelings are hot. There's sparked a lot of debate around being able to protest outside justices' homes, but I mean, that's not connected to this. I will say there was a group, I think it's called like Ruth Sent Us, which is especially ironic considering that Ginsburg is the reason that any of this is happening. But Ruth Sent Us apparently published the homes with a map of all of the conservative justices where there have been protests. That's how this gentleman found out the address of Justice Kavanaugh. So that's obviously going to be part of the discourse. But I personally found the media angle on this just mystifying because what do we talk our entire A block about? They're trying to connect January 6th, broader seditious thing, to the actions of a bunch of, 1,000 or so, whatever, absolute lunatics on the day of January 6th. They've made it clear. It's like, oh, if you were supporting this even rhetorically, then you are directly responsible, tied to the violence. But look at how this CNN reporter reacts the moment that the facts start to become clear. She actually even tries to blame the GOP. Let's take a listen.
Very little detail at this point, Kate, other than to say this man is he's an adult man from California. We don't yet know what the nature of the threat was. We don't know what language the threat was or what kind of weapon this man might have had, if he had one at all, because the information at this point is just so thin. But Kate, this certainly contributes to this overall threat landscape we've been talking a lot about. The major concern here with this abortion ruling from federal officials, and they've been sounding the alarm on this for about a month, is that Supreme Court justices will certainly be, potentially targeted by violent extremists who are angered over this pending ruling that is poised to strike down Roe v. Wade. This is an extremely passionate issue. There are emotions on both sides. Federal officials have made clear over and over they believe the risk truly comes from both sides of this abortion debate.
So here's what's weird, which is, and by the way, it's not untrue, actually, that obviously, abortion clinics have been bombed before, like people have been killed. So I'm not even saying that isn't a real point. She said it's not even clear if the man had a weapon on him at all, even though that was immediately clear. So what information?
On CNN literally says, found with a weapon.
Found with a weapon. It's not clear. It's like, well, where are you getting your info before you go on live television?
She seems very uncomfortable in explaining what's going on.
Just say the facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is it difficult, Krystal? You even, you guys in Sirota did a whole segment about not being able to protest outside people's homes. Whatever, I honestly don't even particularly care. But my point is that you can hold that position and say, yeah, some lunatic tried or wanted to kill Justice Kavanaugh. And, the circumstances of it show this is a grade A freak who's like, I'm having, who buys a gun and goes outside a house and then calls 911?
Yeah.
To say, so like, look, even people are like, this is a bona fide assassination attempt. Yeah, in spirit. He's also, he called 911 because he shot himself because he's just freaking out and chickened out apparently. That's a good outcome, great outcome.
Right.
Of that it didn't get violent. So anyway, I think that the media coverage on this, I was telling you before, front page of the New York Times didn't even have this story on there in the immediate aftermath.
Wow.
Everybody knows. If Sotomayor, someone even sneezed at Justice Sotomayor, it would be, oh my God, it would be political assassination. It's like, come on.
You have to deal with the facts as they actually exist.
Exactly.
What this made me think about was it did remind me that there was that judge in Wisconsin, retired Wisconsin judge that was just murdered by a gunman who then killed himself, who had a list of names. The government officials included, the governor of Wisconsin, the governor of Michigan, and other people within the judiciary. The reason I bring it up is, it's a really bad sign in a society when you have judges being threatened or judges being murdered, when you have, increasing political violence and instability. And so I really just sort of look at these events as part of that sign and trend of a complete unraveling of American society. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think it's obviously in part that it's the Taibbi thesis, I think, is incredibly compelling, that after we sort of, we get out of the Cold War, and so we don't have this external, unifying, quote unquote, enemy of the Soviet Union, then you've got the war on terror, and let's get those bad guys. And in order to generate ratings, the idea was after that, okay, well, we'll turn people on each other. And so I see this as just another sign of a society that is in decline and in decay, and it's very uncertain what the future ultimately is, and it's going to take some dramatic changes to get us back on track, which is, I think, something that a lot of people really sense out there in the public. I mean, I think that a lot of the angst right now is economic, but I think if you look at that 70% plus who say America's on the wrong track, I think that's an all-encompassing feeling of like, this is not going well. This whole project we're engaged in right now is really not going well. And ultimately, we're dependent on the whims of like our most fringe and most deranged extremist among us for our sort of safety and future of society.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you look at this too, I look at it as a total breakdown. You have judges being killed. It's not the first time, unfortunately, in the last couple of months that you've seen that. There's been a spike reported. I do actually think there's some bill on the floor, which again, it's being partisan I think it shouldn't be, to increase security for the Supreme Court. I actually think we should obviously do that, especially they're going to be dealing with more controversial cases. Look, I just think that you look at this in the context, I don't know why the media can't just cover it fairly. We all know if this was on the other side and that guy ever watched a single second of Tucker, it would be like Tucker Carlson linked to, we're not up here being like, what was his media diet? Who did he like? I'm sure this person who is clearly deranged, enjoyed and imbibed a lot of liberal media. Okay, fine. Are we going to say the liberal media is responsible for attacks or assassinations on? No, because people have individual autonomy. And clearly, this guy's a lunatic. And lunatics exist in our society. It's a good thing that he called 911. I find the treatment of the story almost as important as the story itself. Although, I think there has been violent attempts or like threats before on Justice Scalia. Anyway, I know that there's been attacks or threats against justices, but look, if they're going to be deciding cases on, Roe is not the only case. There's a gun case actually up before the Supreme Court.
There's a bunch, and this is something we'll be covering in the coming days. There's a lot of significant issues that they're going to be weighing in on. Coming anytime now, basically during the month of June. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.